Hi there, Grant Stinchfield here. There's a company I want to talk about that is doing exciting things, and I'm hopeful that this company called GeneSolve is going to help me. I've struggled with some energy. I'm struggling in the gym a little bit. Even though I think I'm in great shape for 45 years old, I want to bring it to the next level. And then I discovered GeneSolve. Dr. Richard Lee has been on this program before. He is the founder of GeneSolve. They are doing amazing things when it comes to tailoring healthcare to individual needs and basically getting your body to fire on all cylinders. And so it is my great pleasure to welcome Dr. Lee to the Stinchfield Report. Dr. Lee, thanks so much for coming on.
Happy to be here.
So first off, I'm so excited about getting involved with GeneSolve, and a little backstory for me is, I get a little tired. I'm not doing quite as well in the gym. I'm in really good shape for a 45-year-old, but I want to ensure that I stay that way and that I can keep my energy and kind of keep moving forward. And that's why I think GeneSolve is right for me. Am I correct in that?
Well, I sure hope you are. It seems to be for many people. So the whole idea is to make those wishes come true. And one thing we ask, which we asked of you, and you answered very eloquently, is if we were magical and could grant 3 wishes for your health, what would they be? Now, do you want to state them, or can I rattle them off as I understand them?
No, go ahead. Rattle them off, because I don't even know if I remember them.
Okay. Well, we'll fix that too. But the first thing is a lot of people, you think they want to lose weight, but they all, whether they're heavy or thin, they say more energy. And that was your first one. And you have a pattern here that's diagnostic in just what you say. You said you're healthy, you're fit, but you wake up tired and achy. Some joint issues going on there. And although I don't think you've been diagnosed with arthritis, a lot of people have this, and they feel like the Tin Man. They need the oil can to get things going.
Exactly. Exactly.
And so you've got a busy schedule. You've got to get up and hit the road running, and it probably hurts a bit to get started on that. You said like me, you're a procrastinator, but you get stuff done. And maybe it's because when the crisis hits, you man up to it and really get the work done at those times. And if it's not that dire, maybe it's not as big on your agenda. So you'd like more focus, and that would help maybe. So you don't have to wait to the last minute. Although we may never change that, it still may be good to improve upon it, and yes, we can do that. Another wish you had was to have lean muscle mass. Now, there's some people who are big and look really buff, but they have a fair amount of body fat, which doesn't serve them that well. Or they add water to their muscle, things like creatine and whatnot, and you'd like to be more, I guess, the term you use is tighten up. We call it more defined.
Or ripped.
Ripped, yeah. Ripped, but not ripped up. So,
right, exactly.
So we can do that for you, and the way to do that is to find what's getting in the way of your muscle mass not developing in that way. Is it a percentage of body fat, or are there other things that can be part of this? But my interest is not so much, you should look better, but you should feel even better than you look.
And so, Dr. Lee, let me explain for my listeners. Sure. So 5 years ago, I lose 30 pounds. I do P90X, and I get in shape. And I was always an athlete. I played college football, and I was always working out. I just kind of let it get away from me a little bit. And so 5 years ago, I got to where I wanted to be, and only in the last year and a half or 2 years did I see I'm still going into the gym 4 or 5 days a week, but I'm not getting quite the results, even though I'm eating healthy. I'm not fat by any means. I weigh 170 pounds, and I'm 5'9", and I'm in pretty decent shape, but I'm not seeing quite the results I saw 3 years ago. So that's where I came up with the lean muscle mass, that I don't know what's going on, that I'm just not getting there where 3 years ago I was.
Well, here's the interesting fact. It's not just you're getting older. It isn't age so much as all the experiences we have in life as we go through life as age accumulates. Now, I don't know everything about your history, but you've been in showbiz, and that's stressful. You also ran for some public office, which is incredibly stressful. And how long ago was that?
That was 2.5 years ago, and I will tell you, I lost all kinds of weight. It was the most stressful time of my life, and that put me through the ringer. Well,
that ringer still has a residual, and whether it's a good stress or a bad stress, whether you won or lost the office, the stress is the same, and it has a drawback. And look at any politician, regardless of what party they're in, look at them between when they start their campaign and even 4 years into it, their hair all turns gray.
Mm-hmm, it sure does.
Okay.
All right, we're talking with Dr. I just want to reset. We're talking with Dr. Richard Lee. He is one of the co-founders of GeneSolve, which is a terrific company. I urge people to check them out. And so, Dr. Lee, you guys do blood work on me, some DNA tests, and getting right to the short of it, you found some problems.
Well, yeah, and one last thing on your history, that all started with the stress. Your body produced a stress hormone called cortisol, and that steals with other hormones and smacks them down. We can measure that, but your history is incredibly powerful in diagnosing it. So I'll get to labs briefly, but we examine by history and by labs up to 50 different conditions that could be occurring at the same time that affect your energy level. And then they're scored in terms of how strong they would affect it. We found 29 different things that are affected with you. At the top of that was something called low-free sex hormone. Now, sex hormones aren't just for sex. In men and women, they mainly testosterone in men and mostly estrogen in women. They affect everything from cognition to recovery to physical and mental energy. And yeah, they have something to do with libido. And I think you had a little bit of complaint about some of that, but not horrible. But it's so much more.
Yeah, and miraculously, only in the mornings is my libido low. Now, in the evenings, I'm good to go. But in the mornings, when my whole body isn't working, that's a problem too. That's
right. Well, that's sort of a smackdown on your whole neuroendocrine system. And probably from all these things that have gone on from probably the last 5 years have accumulated. So by your history alone, which is very accurate in diagnosing low-free sex hormones, up there was fibromyalgia and joint pain. You may have some issues with gluten maybe. Cortisol was definitely an issue, and that showed up there. Low morning cortisol makes you tired. High evening cortisol makes you wired and makes you fat. Growth hormone may be an issue, but that usually is a function of trauma that can be reversed. You have a protein called DHEA, which is supposed to feed your testosterone, and it's probably low. So all this is based on your symptoms and history, and we'll jump right to your labs because most people go to a doctor and they'll get lab work, and the doctor say, well, you're normal. Go away. You're fine.
And, Doc, I want to tell you something. I went yesterday to get my annual physical, and I brought my labs with me. And guess what he said? You're normal on everything. And I knew
there's
this.
Normal and there's optimal.
Exactly.
Now, if someone has a lab result that's 1% above abnormally low, they're considered just as normal as someone who's in the upper 80th percentile of what you really want. And that's where we get into some issues. So on your lab work, vitamin B12, it's normal, but at 720, we'd like it higher, 870 to 980. Those are still within normal ranges. Folic acid from your green vegetables, that's a little low. Your vitamin D, it was 33, and the normal range is 30 to 100. Well, you're just barely off the bottom of deficient in vitamin D, and it's so important in so many things that we like to see it between 70 and 80. And vitamin D levels aren't toxic until they're well above 150, and you almost never see that except for people who are just totally abusing it. So vitamin D, which has a powerful role in things, was off. All your liver, kidney functions, your red blood cells were fine. I mentioned DHEA. That's a protein that comes from your cholesterol, and your body converts it into sex hormones, testosterone and estrogen. Your level was, quote, normal at 148, but it should be 400 to 500 to be in the optimal range. So bringing that up to optimal is going to make a big difference in energy and in upregulating all the hormones that make you a manly man. There's a protein called sex hormone binding globulin. This is increased in stress. This protein grabs onto your hormones and holds them hostage. You're normal there because you're under 80, but optimal is 18 to 31, and you were 46. So you've got a bit of this protein grabbing onto hormones and pulling them out of circulation. IGF-1, that's a proxy for growth hormone. It's normal, but you would probably feel better if it around 195 to 240 and you were at 131. Don't worry, we can fix that without having to jump to that. Testosterone, okay? Yeah, your lab reference sheet probably said normal is like 170 to 1,000, but the American Academy of Clinical Endocrinology says that any man All men are ideal if they're 400 to 1,000. Any man who's under 300 should consider treatment. You are 224.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Now, that doesn't mean you can't be a stud muffin, but that's probably why your muscle mass is not staying lean. That's probably a good part of the energy throughout the day. And the only thing that makes you energetic in the evening is this higher than normal level of cortisol or the stress hormones.
And doctor, here I want to make this clear for everybody listening. And what I love about GeneSolve and your company and you and your doctors is that when we talked about the testosterone, I had some concern about the creams. You said, look, the goal of GeneSolve isn't to get me on testosterone for the rest of my life. It's to maybe get all these supplements and stuff that you put together for me and get me off of the testosterone where I'm producing it myself in 3 or 4 months.
Correct. For young guys like you, okay, why did it go down so low? Part of this was running your own businesses, being in show business, and being on the campaign trail. That probably did the real smackdown. We see this time and time again. It isn't an old guy's thing. It's a stress guy's thing. And your mind copes beautifully with the stress, but your body remembers it. And it says, look, if I'm in a situation where I have to run away or fight, I don't want to have excess testosterone around to make me too distracted by women or challenging the alpha male. It's adaptive in those environments, but it's not good for you in this environment, and it's rampant in young men in high-tech or high-stress jobs.
Wow.
So,
okay.
Yeah. And we're not going to turn you into we're not going to pump you up with massive amounts. We're going to gradually raise your level to normal, and what happens is the brain says, oh, I remember this, and it will turn back on and upregulate your normal hormone productions back to where they should be. We call it a reset. So the idea is not for life, but to get you back to normal and then see what your body does in response to that.
So what it seems like GeneSolve is doing, it's getting my body back firing on all cylinders.
Yes. Whether, and your life, you're not a Yugo on 4 cylinders driving down a dirt road. You're more like a Ferrari having to run on 12 cylinders, running a Formula One race. The demands on your mind and body and time are much greater, so the tuning has to be much better.
Well, I love that everything that you do is individual to each patient. So many doctors aren't. So many doctors don't understand what patients actually want. They go by these ranges, and they don't get what someone is trying to get out of this. And the personal level that GeneSolve offers was a huge reason why I wanted to get involved with you guys. And it just seems like an amazing program. I'm eager to get started.
Okay, but wait, there's more. There's
okay.
a few more things that are suboptimal. Thyroid hormone. A lot of people, particularly women, say, I'm getting fat and tired. It must be my thyroid. And they go to the doctor, and the doctor says, well, you're free. They may not even check your free thyroid level. In fact, they'll check what's called a TSH, a thyroid stimulating hormone, which is produced by the brain, and that tells the thyroid gland how much to make. Well, your TSH was, quote, normal, so they figured, well, your brain isn't screaming for thyroid, you must be fine. However, the free thyroid hormone levels were, again, normal, but on the low side. Free T4 is the one that regulates mostly physical metabolism. It was 1.1. And normal range for most labs is 0.8 to 1.8. So, yeah, you're there. Even a standard endocrinologist might treat you if it were 1.0. We like to see it about 1.5 to 1.7. So you've got some room to move up on that, and doing that will improve your metabolism. Also, there's another thyroid called free T3. That wasn't too bad. Normal is 2.6 to 4.5. You're at 3.0. We bump that up as well. We'll turn on both aspects of metabolism, both physically and mentally, and that upregulates metabolism and production of everything else. That will raise your testosterone just by doing that, but we probably throw a little on you as well. So thyroid is not optimal. It's not deficient, but there's definitely room for improvement. If we do improve it, you'll make a difference. To use an automotive analogy, it's like the ignition timing on your car when we could actually do something about that. If the ignition timing is off, your cylinders don't fire they fire slow or they're not as efficient at producing energy. Testosterone is like the boost on your turbocharger. Upping the boost if you don't turn the engine doesn't help, but if we correct the ignition timing and the boost, you get all the power, all the efficiency, and none of the risk of blowing anything up.
All right. It sounds amazing to me. Obviously, a guy like me, I'm sure most of your clients are excited about it. And so we need to get you back on after I start the process to then talk about that as well.
All right. Anything else for today?
So let me ask you, Doctor, real quick, if somebody wanted to get in touch with GeneSolve, sign up for this, see one of your doctors, how do they do it?
What they do is, first of all, they go to the website, which is www.gene, that's Gene -solve, SOLVE.com. And then there should be a map saying find a physician. You click on that, you enter your zip code, and it should show you the nearest physician to you. Now, we don't have doctors in all 50 states yet. We do have a growing number of them in Texas. We're vetting some in Southern California, in Florida. We have a wonderful one up in Chicago. Just spoke with her about her first patient, and she's got it. So we will add more, but if you're in a state where there isn't a physician, you may have to come to a state where there is. We're working on growing it to all 50 states. Just give us time.
All right. Well, we're going to invite you back on. Dr. Richard Lee, one of the co-founders of GeneSolve, an amazing company. And we'll see how I do. I'm eager to get it started. Dr. Lee, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Good talking to you again.
Great talking to you, too. You're listening to the Stinchfield Report on News and Information 570 KLIF.